can't believe how dark my hair looks. I like it dark. It looks really
Yeah,
dark.
I always feel like my
Yours
hair
looks
looks
darker.
darker.
Maybe it's
It must be the light. But I also like that it looks darker.
But actually, it looks darker on the screen looking at you there compared to when I'm when I'm looking at you now in the flesh.
Because my hair's really faded, and then when I look at it on the video, I'm like, oh, maybe it's not as faded as I thought.
No,
I think
it must be.
I think
it must be the
it's
light,
just the light.
how the light's reflecting or something. Anyway. Hi everybody, welcome back to, I don't even know what episode we're on. We're quite a way in now, aren't we?
Yeah, I feel
The
like
professionals.
This is like number 10.
Must be.
I think.
Must be. Yeah, we've been doing this a little while now.
Yeah, I think it's episode 10.
We thought we would talk today about just what would you call it, like growth as people, the journey that you go on. We have obviously hit on with our personal stories about how our lives have changed quite a lot over the last few years. Yeah, and I think over the last, I would say probably about 18 months or so for both of us, we've done well. We've really changed for the better, a lot, haven't we?
Yeah, definitely.
We both have, and it's happened. I guess in a way, it's probably happened partly because of each other. The support we give each other, the advice we give each other. That's probably enabled us to both do it at the same time. But yeah, we thought we'd kind of just talk about that today. If any of you are feeling a little bit like you are stuck in a rut, or you don't know kind of what to do, or what your future looks like, or just any of that kind of stuff really, we thought we'd just talk a little bit about changes that we've made. Some things probably deliberate, probably some things not deliberate, that kind of just happened. So yeah, we thought we'd just have a bit of a chat about that today. God, where do we even start with it? So okay, so for me, I feel like it is about the last 18 months. And I guess for me, I would say what was my big thing that happened 18 months ago was I moved. Yeah. I think that was a massive turning point for me, wasn't it?
And that was the kind of start of your real freedom and sort of
my real single life. Yeah. I had some real struggles around moving. Not the actual moving, just other things that were going on at that time. And I think it was you that actually said to me, because I'd already been separated and divorced from my ex-husband for about 18 months at that point. And it was you that actually said to me one day, she was like, and so that first 18 months felt a lot easier than kind of what was then coming. And I think you did say to me, you were like, I don't think your real life as a divorced single person had started.
Yeah, because you found it hard
until
to
I
start
moved.
with, didn't you?
So hard.
And you were just like, I don't understand why.
I was like, we've been apart for 18 months.
And I said to you, I think although you have been single, you still had Mark there. You were still...
I was living in the house.
Still there to help you.
Yeah.
And you this was your first sort of taste of not having someone to fall back on, I guess.
Yes. And I don't think I even realised in that first 18 months probably how dependent on him I still actually was. So yeah, silly things I remember I was still living in the house. So I don't mind speaking about it. Even on a financial level, he still paid for everything in our house. So he still paid the mortgage, he paid all the bills. I was then getting a monthly child maintenance on top of it. So I kind of really was actually, in hindsight, I was absolutely living the life of Riley. And then all of a sudden move, and it's I've now had tons of bills. I lived a really charmed life being married. Not had to think about that. So that's a massive thing already. But I think even things in the house, one day there was a dead squirrel or something in the garden. And I was like, Mark, can you come and deal with this thing? And he lived literally around the corner he could be at my house in 5 minutes walk. So it was stuff like that, wasn't it? And I think that in my mindset and practically and definitely financially, we hadn't actually really cut ties. And I remember the first night I was in this house, I had the weirdest feeling, I've not felt anything like this. I don't remember ever, or the last time I felt like this. My first night in this house, my kids were on holiday with Mark. They were in Israel. So I moved. I did the move from our old house to this house. I mean, I had a removal company. My parents came for the day, but I did it basically on my own. And I remember even going to bed that night, and my mum stayed, and I felt anxious, so anxious. I mean, the move into this house had not been an easy one anyway. The people I bought from were horrible, and it was a really painful move that nearly fell through a million times. So it was very stressful. The day I got here, do you remember the guy that owned the house? There was loads of shit in the garden.
Yeah.
I had to pay £500 to get it removed. Like, it was a really bad day. Plus all the emotional stuff I suppose I was going through of leaving my marital home, the kids. Like, it was a
lot. I think it's understandable.
It was
that
a
you would feel
big
anxious.
day. It was a big day. But do you know what my anxiety came from more than anything? I suddenly had this realisation, even though my kids weren't here, I was like, you're on your own now. Like, this is it. This is your and their house. Like, you are on your own. Like, there is no more, this is broken, can you come and fix it? I guess it was a realisation of, and I think this happens in all married couples, or not even, you know, people married, but long relationships. You become very, very codependent on each other. And I think that's what it was for me. And it was just suddenly, it was just like, this is it now, Rochelle. Like, you are on your own. You've got to look after your kids. You have to fix stuff that goes wrong. You have to deal with shit when it comes up. You have to pay for stuff that you've not been used to. And that was a real overwhelming sense of responsibility, I
But
guess.
how do you find that now? Do you still feel like you're on your own?
No, not at all. And that's the thing. And I think, and the change in that 18 months is, oh my God, it's been crazy. And I guess that's what we're going to talk about, like what things have we done to, because no, I don't, now I feel like I can do anything.
Yeah.
I feel so powerful just being me and the kids. I realise how much my marriage, and I'm not saying marriage, but my marriage took away so much of my power and my confidence in myself, actually, and my self-belief. It really stripped me.
Yeah.
And I didn't realise at the time, I don't really get upset. And I think it's taken probably till quite recently for me to get a lot of that. But yeah, it did. It took a lot away from me. And I feel like that's really come back.
Oh my God, why am I wearing?
She never
do
cries.
this.
She never cries.
Get away.
It did. And I think that happens. Like I say, I think you become so
This is because we're on our periods.
Yeah, we are. I said to Sadie this morning, so, because she's got her period, and I said to her, I was explaining to her about girls end up, and I was like, you, me, Chloe, we've all got our period at the same time.
Pretty much every girl that I'm friends with is in sync.
It happens.
It's so bizarre. Even one of my clients the other day, I was like, what is going on?
But yeah, it did. And now I'm like, yeah, so different. And now I'm almost, I would say I'm reaching that kind of danger zone of almost when you so love being on your own and you feel so capable on your own that I've almost now gone through to that. I remember saying to my friend Sarah, who you've met, who's moved to Suffolk, because she's like really okay with being on her own. And I remember saying to her, and I remember saying to you, I really want to get to like that place where she is, of just like not caring
I've been
about.
there for a long time.
Yeah.
But you go a little bit too far.
And that's exactly it.
Yeah.
And then I reached it and I was like, this is amazing. And now I'm almost going a little bit too far. But that's a big shift in 18 months, right? That's a really big, that's a lot of change.
Yeah, because
in a relatively
really
short period of time.
Part of your life, wasn't it?
Dating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At one point.
I don't think it was even that I necessarily was desperate to be with someone. I think there was probably even a part of me that just thought, no, it's just what you do.
Yeah.
And because also, like, everybody, it was wild, right? I remember when Mark and I first split up, the amount of people who straight away, almost one of the first things they'd say to me is they'd be like, so have you met anyone? But I'm talking about, like, he was still living in the house.
I reckon people just automatically assume that someone's cheated.
Oh, do you think? Yeah. You think, yeah, maybe. I mean, my friend Gemma always says, I don't believe that anyone ends a marriage without having somewhere else to go. Yeah, and I was like, no.
I think that is true, though. I think a lot of people just don't realise that things can come to an end. Like, I've been in relationships where, like, when I ended things with them, they were just like, who is he? And I'm like, there isn't anyone else. Like, you are just destroying me. Like, I can't cope with you anymore.
Yeah. I'd rather be on my own than be with
And
you.
they couldn't comprehend that
Really?
it was just that I didn't want them and not because I wanted someone else.
I remember
But then
my,
I guess that comes back to not taking accountability.
Yeah, for
like
your
it's
part.
so much easier for someone to go, she's found someone
She's met
else,
someone
than
else.
go like,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not enough.
Yeah. I remember sitting in Costa in Queen's Road with Gemma, out in the garden, because it must have been springtime, and I remember her saying to me, like, have you been, like, is there someone else? And she said to me, she said, I don't think people come out of a marriage without having the next thing. And I was like,
But
Gemma, like,
doesn't
no.
that say a lot though? Because I think
I said, I would have told
people,
you. I'd have told you if I was having it off with somebody. Like, no.
I think this again comes back to what we've spoken about previously, that people don't necessarily do things for the right reasons. I think as well, like you said about the codependency.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people become codependent and they don't know how to come out of that.
I think
It takes a lot of strength to come out
yeah,
of that.
it does. And I actually think a lot of people, and I'm going to say even with a lot of people I know, I don't think they would have the strength to be on their own. I don't.
No.
I hate to say it, but I think especially a lot of the women, because financially, like me, their lives would change so much. And I think for a lot of people, they're just not prepared. And that's, I'm not knocking that.
Yeah.
I'm not. And I've said before, actually, if I had known, I had a level of naivety to my divorce. I thought, I did not realise financially how much worse off I would be. And my position is a lot better than most women, so I'm very grateful and I'm very aware of that. But compared to the life I had, and had I have known, would I have gone through with it? If I'm being completely honest, possibly not. I think I would have done, but maybe it would have taken longer to get to.
My situation was obviously different in the sense of like I actually didn't really gain much at all from my relationships. I still feel like I wasn't convinced that I would have the strength to be on my own, because I think I attached a lot of my self-worth to
Being
these
in a
people.
relationship.
Yeah. But for me, like, it just got to breaking point. It was like, if I do not change this now, like, I don't know where I'm gonna be in the future. But like, with that being said, like I've always said, I love this. So whenever someone is like going for a really terrible time in their life, my thoughts when I was going through like really, really hard times, I always thought, like, if you are at rock bottom, the only way is
there's
up.
only one way up. Yeah.
So if you feel like you're at rock bottom, rather
true.
than feeling like that's a horrific thing, just think, I can go up now. Like, I've just got to find my way up. And
so true.
Like, so much can change. Like, if you think like the last year, 18 months, our lives have changed so much. Like, we've learned so much, we've grown so much, and like, I'm so happy.
Yeah, same.
And we're actually both at a point where, like, as much as we would like to meet someone, we're not going to attach our self-worth to it when we do. We're not going to settle.
We would have done already. We could,
Yeah.
that's the point. We could have settled down with people a million times
Yeah,
over.
but
by now.
we're not settling. And when we do find these people, they're going to be the real deal.
Yeah,
and it's going to be
definitely.
amazing. And
Yeah,
it's going
that's
to better our
exciting.
lives.
Yeah.
It's so exciting.
And I think that's the thing. I think if you know, you are struggling with anything, I think as well, like, everything is temporary. In life, actually, if you think about it, like, most things are temporary, or most situations can change if you want them to, and will change.
And most situations do have some good in them. Like, even if it
you'll
seems like
always learn
everything is
something.
bad, there's always something good that you can see. Even if you don't see it now, like, at some point down the line, you will see something and you'll go, right, yeah, that was why that was meant to happen. Like, I've never gone through a situation that at the time I really felt uncomfortable about and upset about, and looked back and gone, like, I wish I could go back to that. Like, I'm like, no, this is my path. Thank God you took me here.
That's what I think. I think now that very much that everything is literally is a part of your story, and that you have to go through some really shitty stuff in order to appreciate
and
and even to allow the good stuff in. we could have stayed in our relationships. I really firmly believe, and some people would probably be like, oh God, like wake up. No, I absolutely 100% firmly believe that our perfect people are out there.
I agree.
If we had stayed where we were, we would have just lived
But imagine as well,
the
like,
rest of our lives just settle, like,
absolutely
not allowing. That was part of my decision-making process with divorcing Mark, was I need to actually give myself the opportunity to have this person come into my life, because I didn't feel like my ex-husband was kind of the big love of my life, and that I didn't want to be in that for the rest of my life. It is all a part of it. It is all a part of it.
Can you imagine as well, like 18 months ago, if your perfect person was put in front of you,
Wouldn't have been in the right
you would
place
not
for
have
it.
been able to deal with that.
No.
You would have completely
100%.
missed that they were the right person.
Yeah, I was mentally
because you
not,
didn't have all the tools that you have now.
not in the right place for it. I think that's a really valid point, actually. I think because the whole dating thing can be soul destroying. You can be in, and I've been in this position where I thought, oh, I would like to meet my person now, and I can see now exactly what you've just said. I was nowhere near in a healthy.
But 18 months
place for
ago,
it.
you probably would have been sitting there thinking, oh my God, when am I going to meet them?
Yeah, I was.
And
I was thinking
now
that.
it's like,
And now I know.
shit, like, if I had have met them, I probably would have
It would have
really
been a mess.
fucked that
I'd have
up.
fucked it. Well, I have met guys that I think have come close, and I have fucked it up because I haven't been ready. But I think that if they were my right person,
you wouldn't have fucked it
I
up.
wouldn't have fucked
No.
it up. And I think, and that's the point. And I can see that now, exactly that, so clearly. I was like, that person has not been put in my path yet because it has not been the right time.
Yeah, and it will be. When it's the right time, it
Yeah,
will work.
it has
It'll
not been
feel
the right time.
Safe, secure.
Yeah. So I think I'm going to kick off with some of the things that I think have made a massive difference to me. I think one of my biggest things has been accepting that it's sometimes you do need to ask for help,
Yeah.
and that's okay,
Yeah.
and that actually,
I still find that hard.
yeah, I do, but that I think as well as single mums, or not that we necessarily like that our kids' dads are involved, but when you are with the kids, lion's share of the stuff, there is so much to balance, like too much. It's too much. And you know what? Any of you mums out there who have got kids who don't, where there's not, dad is not involved, I really take my hat off to those women, because I would say I'm in a category of person where, as much as my ex-husband is a bit of a prick in terms of that side of things, he is amazing. Like, I've never had to chase him for money. He does what he says with the kids.
Can't relate.
Yeah, very different. Yeah. So I can't complain on that side of things, and I know how many women don't have that. So I really take my hat. I was thinking the other day with you, actually. Your ex is not brilliant with money, is he? Like, he's not. I don't, tell me if I'm speaking out of turn.
No.
And I was thinking to myself, I actually meant to say this to you yesterday, and I didn't. Yeah, again, in a non-patronising way, I take my hat off to you and any mums like you, because I'm in a financial position where if my ex didn't pay me money 1 month, I would be fucked. That's how dependent I am still on my ex-husband's money, whereas you are getting on with things and providing what he needs by your. And I would say with you, it's almost like it's a bonus.
Yeah, it's a bonus.
If you do get
it's not
any money
necessarily
from him.
expected.
Yeah. Whereas
it's
for me,
not like written
if
into
Mark
like
missed a month's payment, I would literally be in a lot of trouble.
Well, I don't get enough for it to. It doesn't even scrape the sides. So it's like.
Whereas mine is substantial.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I kind of just disregard it, and when I do get it, great. But
I think that's it. Like, and I think like we are both characters that do not like to ask for help. But I have realised a little bit more. So I will now, like, even say silly things like there's one of the women that lives down the road. Her daughter is in the same year as Sadie at school. So if I've got something where, or say like even if I'm just not feeling well, I will now text her and be like, would you be able to take my kids into school tomorrow? Because that's it, because we don't have that backup of a husband or boyfriend who can do the school run that day. And even little things like that for me have been like really difficult. Or, you know, even stuff like like I've just had to pay my lawyer's fees for my money stuff on my divorce. Like I've had to go to my parents for that, which I don't like doing, but I have. That's what I've had to do. But I think as well, we all have more people around us who not only are willing to help us, but who really want to help us.
Yeah.
More than we probably realise. And that's another thing I think I would say to someone if they feel like they're struggling. You probably have way more people around you who, if they knew how much you were struggling, would be so, not just wanting to help you. So don't be afraid to ask for that, whether it is money or time, or you just need to talk to someone, you know, whatever it may be. I think that reaching out and asking for help, I think it depends. Some people see it as a weakness. I don't think for me it's so much that. I think for me it's that we're super considerate people. And for me, I think I'm always like, everybody's got their own shit going on. I don't want to burden you with any more. And for me, it's that. It's that.
So like, I will literally be like, I could really use a hand. Like, who could I ask? And then my second thought will be, oh, but they're busy. Oh, they've got something going on, or they probably could do without it.
Whereas actually, those people would so happily.
But also,
even with all their own shit going on, those people would so happily help you out.
I always think as well, like, I am someone who will help people. Like, I am always that friend who, like, if you've got a problem, I help you sort it. If you need a hand, like, I'm there. So I do need to kind of give that back to myself.
Exactly. And that's what I mean. Like, I'm mega busy all the time. I have way too much on my plate. But would I help a friend out? I'd be the first one there.
Absolutely.
So we need to accept that those people in our lives are the same.
Yeah, for
same
sure.
for us.
I think that was a big thing for me. Like, also just like accepting that it is hard. Like, because I remember, like, after like when I first became single, people would say to me like, oh, it must be so hard being a single mum. And I'd be like, you're joking? Like, it's way easier because
you've lost the grown-up child.
My ex brought so many problems to me. Like, he like literally run me into the ground with shit. Like, I had to sort shit out all the time. I had to constantly do a lot more. Like, you can imagine everything. Like, my cleaning burdens were so much higher. My financial burdens were so much higher. Like,
you were often bailing him out of shit, weren't you? Paying for things
should have been like equal, weren't. I was basically sorting all his shit out. So I was like, you're kidding, like, my life's cushy now. And it was only maybe like even probably longer than a year down the line that I sat there and was like, no, this is hard. Just because it's easier than what it was doesn't mean that it's still hard. Like, it is hard. But my life was so hard before that I was like, what are you talking about? Like, this is a breeze. Yeah. And then one day I was just like, fuck no, this is hard. It's just that you were pushing yourself way beyond your limits before. So that was a big thing.
And things can become hard, I think, in a different way. Like, I find that even just not having someone there to even necessarily maybe just knowing that there's someone there, I think psychologically can be quite helpful.
Yeah.
Whereas when you don't have that, and I think that for us as mums, and of course this won't always be the case, and I have met a couple of guys who have pretty much got full custody of their kids. So again, like, shout out to those men as well. But I think most of the time for the women, like, for me, I still do, as I say, like, the lion's share of everything concerning my kids, as I did before. So that hasn't actually really changed. But I'm now doing it with the burden of way more, certainly financial responsibility. Plus, I also, this is almost going into another subject now of like co-parenting. I mean, co-parenting is that's a whole minefield, because as you've seen with my ex, I do not think it's a whole lot of co-parenting. I think it's very much me parenting and him flitting in and out as and when and how it suits him. And that for me has made parenting much harder, because I've also then got kids, especially who are at the kind of ages they are, where they can then kind of play you off against each other a little bit. It can then be like, oh, but dad, this. So that presents a whole new challenge that I didn't have before. But I think that the weight of a not right relationship will drag you down way harder and heavier than
Yeah.
any of that stuff. So I feel, although I have those challenges, would I swap like my position, and overall I'm so much happier now. And with way less material things, you know, like...
Well, it's internal, isn't it, happiness?
Yeah.
And we often put happiness into objects, don't we? And whether that be like things that you want, or, you know, things like alcohol, like that could be your source of happiness, and it's internal. So if you don't, like, those things will never make you consistently happy.
Yeah.
And if you don't find it without having those things, you're going to find it really hard to be consistently happy.
Yeah. I think as well, what other things have we done? I think we both have looked at friendships, how we view friendship, how we view our time and the value on our time, and who we give our time to, and looking at who gives us their time.
Make sure
I think we have...
things are balanced. Like, if you've got friends, like, do you look at your friendships, like, are they balanced? If they're not balanced, I think you can take a lot of resentment from having an unbalanced relationship with someone. I
think alignment, we've spoken about this a bit recently. I have certain friends who I adore. They're great people, they're amazing people, but we're not actually completely aligned in kind of how we enjoy to, like, spending our time, for example. So they will do things that, I'm not saying there's anything wrong but with what they do, but it's not what I want to do. Or they might spend their money in ways that it's not how I want to spend my money.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of the time we agree to doing things because we feel like we should, or we feel like we have to, or we feel like, to be a good friend, that we have to say yes to everything. And I've always been a little bit different with this anyway, but I would say especially over the last 18 months, I've become even. I guess it's kind of boundaries, isn't it? I do not do anything that I don't want to do. I take the attitude very much now that if you are my friend and a true friend, you should not place that expectation on me that I'm going to do, you know, whatever,
do something to make you
just
happy.
Because you want to do it. We can still be friends. We can still have an amazing friendship, but it you know, I think the second you're putting demands on, if I feel that someone has demands and expectations on me, that's not a good place for me to be, because me, that's
it means
not what
that they're sort of taking
is.
Something from you rather than just enjoying your presence.
It's a friendship based on kind of like circumstances, isn't it? And I don't really, that doesn't sit well with me at all. And I think that's why, again, we hit on it on an earlier podcast where, like, when you'd met up with your friend who I think was an old college friend who you'd not seen for years, and we were saying about how, like, it's like that time hasn't passed, and I think that's like kind of true friendship. And I was about to say ditch, which sounds really brutal. That's not really the right word, but I've parted ways, and I've been okay. I've made the decision to part ways, and again, this has come up before with a few people, and I don't regret it. I don't miss them, and again, I don't mean that in a horrible way, but I think friendships change. Things do change. Where the friendship had got to, I said it wasn't making me happy, and I'm sure if they were honest, it probably wasn't them either. So if something's only bringing you grief or unhappiness, well, you're not going to miss it.
And that's
I don't miss any of those decisions.
Well,
yeah,
because
same.
My relationship was like that. All it brought in was like grief and stress and unhappiness. Why was I sitting at that table? Like, if you are sitting at a table that is not bringing you positive things, you need to reevaluate whether you have a place at that table.
Yeah.
I don't think you should be there.
And I think effort, what you say about effort is really true. Like, I think when you start to, the more you value yourself and love yourself, you are not going to beg for a text or a phone call or an invitation. Like, you just don't.
No.
Like, you will not behave
I've
that
never
way.
really been like that.
But I think a lot of people
I think I have actually in relationships. Definitely.
Yeah, friendships and relationships.
But like friendships, I was never that. Like, if I didn't get invited to something, like, it never bothered me. Like, I've always been.
No, but I think you're unique. I think that's unique. I think that's unique. I think most people would. And I think most people would almost try and do whatever they feel they need to do so that doesn't happen.
Yeah. Boundaries is a great thing to talk about. Like, if you don't want to do something or something upsets you, like you do need to have boundaries. I think there are very few people, I think we're a great example of this. We don't need firm boundaries because we're both really considerate and we're both really respectful. So we just don't really need to have big boundaries as
When
such.
we're really well aligned as well,
Because-
so
yeah.
we generally operate in a
But
pretty similar
in
way.
most cases, if you don't have boundaries with a friendship or relationship with the average person tends to push you
Take
past
the
your
piss.
limits, and take the piss. So boundaries, if you were going through life without boundaries and kind of just giving parts of yourself away to other people, you need to stop. Like it's all it's going to do is cause you to be unhappy.
But don't you think this comes back to a bigger thing of, I think most of us generally in life do not, it's almost in a way like standing up for yourself enough. I think that we don't speak up for ourselves
Yeah.
enough.
Very English thing, isn't it?
Very
That we
English.
just let people
We
take
put
the
up,
piss out
shut
of
up,
us.
yeah, and we can't because we
It's
don't
not
want to
okay.
rock the boat.
Yeah.
And again, I think I'm very different in that way. Like even I have a good example at the moment, like with work. I've just started doing this new job, which I really love, but I'm finding that other people, they have no boundaries in terms of they are contacted. I'm supposed to work 2 mornings a week. I'm contacted almost daily.
Yeah.
I'm contacted at 8 o'clock in the evening. And I have literally, and I'm very new into the job. So again, this is an example where I think a lot of people would just be like, oh, this is annoying me. It's pissing me off. And they
Just
wouldn't
carry on
say
with
it.
it,
They'd
yeah.
carry on because they don't want to be seen as being awkward or annoying, or they don't want to rock the boat, or they don't want anyone to not be happy with them. Whereas I'm just like, guys, we need to start putting some like, like I'm not on call.
Yeah. You're
I'm
not
not
paid
on call.
to get on.
I'm not paid to be on call. Like I'm being contacted every day. And I've been really explicitly kind of clear. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. And actually what happens is when you've kind of got the balls to do that, what does actually happen? Okay.
People learn their place with you.
Yeah, I think it makes people go, shit.
Yeah,
And,
no, that
and then
isn't
people can't
cool.
argue with
But
that.
also, I
They
think
can't argue with
people
that.
probably don't realise. They probably don't often realise because no one has called them up on this.
And most
when
people
you-
don't think. Most people aren't
When
very
you are
thoughtful.
bringing that to their attention, they'll go, actually, no, that isn't cool because it's a reasonable ask. Now, had you have done that maybe 3 months in, I think people would be like, hang on a minute, why is she saying this now?
Mhm.
You're always better to put your boundaries
And that's my
in.
thing. I'm like, we need to
Straight off the
start.
bat, you
as
set
we
the
mean
tone.
to go on.
This is who I am. This is what I expect,
Mhm.
and this is what I give to you, and this is what I expect in return.
And that applies in relationships a lot as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
See, and again, I made a real mistake. If I look back to my marriage, I made a real mistake of when I got together with Mark. Mark went from living with his mum, who did everything for him, to moving in with me, who did everything for him. Is it any wonder that my marriage played out the way that it did, with me kind of
Yeah.
getting to a point where 14 years down the line, I was like, I literally feel like I'm the maid and the cook and the chauffeur and the laundry lady.
Yeah, because you
and
set
the
your.
PA.
I did the same thing.
I
You
did it.
set-
It was my
this
own
is-
fault.
Yeah, this
It was
is
my
what
own
I'm
fault.
saying is acceptable straight off the
Yeah.
bat.
And you can't, and again, in a way, it's human nature. You kind of can't expect somebody but people will, by their very nature, will take the piss, and they will
Yeah.
always try and take a little bit more. So if you then, suddenly 5-10 years down the line are like, I'm not happy with this, that's quite a hard situation
Yeah.
or dynamic to try
Yeah.
and undo. So yeah, I think boundaries is a massive one. And again, I think as mums, like I think we hit on this in our body confidence episode where we've said about just doing things a little bit more for us, whether
Yeah,
it's
looking after yourself,
Yeah.
doing things that make you happy, taking
Prioritising
time
ourselves.
and effort to do that. Yeah, for sure. Like you need to serve yourself. Like this is your life, and if you are just giving again, like when you are a mum, it is very much like that. Like I said this
it's
this
relentless.
week, didn't I? Like I feel like I'm giving myself to my child, I'm giving myself to the dog, but I'm not kind of pouring anything back in myself.
And you don't get any
because
thanks
my
for
whole
that shit.
yeah, you don't. Like my whole kind of weeks for the last couple of weeks was just literally work, cleaning, dog walking, work, cleaning, dog walking. Like I've not done anything fun, and we do need to make sure we're making it worth our while.
Yeah, because kids, again, I think by their very nature, I'm sure they'll be grateful when they're older. But they are difficult. The older they get, they test more, they push more, they want more.
They expect more.
So if you're not getting, again, and if you are single, and this is what I always say, you're not getting that nice stuff that comes from being in a relationship. You're not getting the guy at the end of the day be like, babe, I'll cook dinner tonight.
Don't know if I've ever had that.
No, I haven't either. I'm bloody having it next time, I tell you that. I'm not making that mistake again. But do you know what I mean? Exactly that.
Yeah, no,
or you don't have that person to be like, oh God, they're pissing me off. But and then they do something that makes you feel good.
Yeah.
So I think things like, even if it's just putting makeup
Actually,
on that day.
I have had that, but see, I've kind of disregard that part of my relationship, the one that I was in previous, my last relationship, because I feel like I disregard the good stuff because there was a lot of bad, and I was so hungry for that good stuff that I, from the get-go, really disregarded the really bad things that were going on, because I was like, I've never had that. I've never had someone going like, I'll cook dinner tonight, I'll put your feet up, I'll run you a bath. And
that's quite a dangerous place, isn't it?
Nice.
Because you let a lot of the
but I was so
go.
hungry for that that these horrific things that were happening, I was just like,
be honest, downplaying them,
can't see that.
Until they get too bad.
Yeah.
And then you have to do something.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
So you always, that's another thing, always prioritise your self-worth. Like, you're important, you need to be, you are at the forefront of your life, and you should be treating yourself as you are. Of course, I know, like, when you've got kids and stuff, they are super important, but look, how are you going to pour into them if you're not pouring into yourself?
That's much more how I think. I think when I first became a mum, I had this really warped kind of view of that. For me to be a good mum meant just completely selflessly giving everything
yourself to everyone else.
It's like, if you're like literally half bloody empty and knackered and exhausted and broken, like, how can you? And actually, my kids are at an age now where I've had conversations with them where I'm like, do you think I seem happier and therefore like a better mum to you guys since me and Daddy have split up? And they've said that they think that both of us seem happier.
You get your spark back, don't you?
And I know definitely, like I said, I lost a lot of my, not just my power, I lost a lot of my personality in my marriage.
I did as well.
And even now, like, I feel I'm more myself, and even my parents will be like, my God, like, here she is. And but I can see it myself, and it's like my silliness is coming back. I've become very serious.
Same. But everything was serious. Like,
I think as well though, you're in survival mode.
Yeah.
And I don't think, and again, I think we've hit on this before, I don't think it's that you're necessarily putting on a front or faking things because you want to fool the world. I think you're in survival mode.
You are putting so much energy
every
in just
single
getting
day.
through each minute of
Right.
the day.
And that makes you very serious.
But I think things are serious as well. Like, when you're unhappy all the time, things do become very serious, don't they?
Yeah. So we've now got Missy. We've got a guest. But I think even things for us, like in the last year, we've done some really fun, like we did a spa day, which just one day, I mean, I think as well, like when you have the kids, just a change of scenery, even one day.
Went to Dublin last year.
I'm going to Dublin,
That
we're
was
going
so
to Belfast
fun.
next month. But just, that was like 2 nights, not having to clean, not having to cook,
that was
having
bliss.
to argue to get in
I
the
feel
shower,
like
do
our
your homework,
nervous
go
systems
to
just
bed.
completely relaxed, didn't they?
And that was not that relaxing a weekend time.
No, but I just remember just laying in the bed thinking, I don't need to worry about packing a lunch, I don't need to worry about what cleaning I've got to do, what washing, like, oh, it's just, you do need a break for sure.
I think those kind of things, like, and it doesn't need to cost a fortune, like, even if it's taking yourself off to, I don't know, like to the bloody seaside in summer for a day.
Yeah.
Like, there's always something you can do.
Just a little day trip.
Yeah.
Going to a coffee shop, just taking yourself to a coffee shop and having that as a bit of downtime, a bit of a break.
Yeah, but I think I'm not feeling guilty about it.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people, women, feel guilty about that stuff. Like, as if, like, I can't do something that's for me and for my happiness. And actually, that's like, again, with me, with my kids, they've almost had to have a bit of a kind of like, my kids had led a very charmed life, I think, in terms of me and their dad being together, everything being kind of just so, like, sort of fairy tale perfect. And now I've had to become a little bit more like guys, my world does not revolve around you. Like, I am going to have that time out, or we are doing this today because this is what I need to make my life easier.
Yeah.
You can very easily end up becoming a bit of a slave to your kids.
Yeah, oh yeah, I've definitely.
I mean, we've had conversations a lot about that. You know, like I my son definitely creates a lot of stress for me, just in terms of, I love him, he's brilliant, but very messy, very untidy, keeps getting himself into trouble at school, like nothing serious, but these are the things, it's added pressures, added stress.
That comes back down to boundaries, doesn't it? Putting your boundaries in line and kind of getting what you want out of them to a degree. I kind of have had that realisation, because it's very easy to slip into a territory where you feel like you are doing an awful lot and not receiving much in return.
Well, you just become everyone's bitch, and I think if you become accepting of that, which I think a lot of people do. So I think that's the thing. It's like you are very much in control. You can do a lot to help yourself.
You're not asking for a lot, are you? You're just asking for little bits here and there.
But I think that's the thing. Maybe for some people, they become so downtrodden, or if you are in a really bad place, or you are in quite a dark place, maybe we know that now, but it doesn't seem like that at the time. So I think it's valuable for people to know that, like. God, you can stop picking it up. Oh my God, they're like in love with each other. Should we finish with a few of these? We got these card things the other week and said we'd do one at the end.
And we have not.
We totally forgotten. They're such dicks. This is good. Be fucking be unfucking stoppable. I like that. Let's do a few. You are strong as fuck. This is kind of what we've just been talking about, isn't it? Don't give up. You still have a lot of motherfuckers to prove wrong. Let's do a couple more. I like these. Stop bitching and start doing. I've had to really learn this.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of moaning. I have. I've realised that. Probably particularly around 18 months ago.
I think we all do this.
Yeah, and I've had an awareness that, like, I am a bit spoiled just because I've been really lucky. I've had it really easy. So for me, when the slightest little thing goes wrong, it has been it's really rocked me, and I've had to become a bit more like, this is the real world, Rochelle. Like, grow up.
Your default when things go wrong is what do? You moan, you kind of stress. Whereas, like, you can do that, or you can turn around and go, right, how do I fix this? How do I change it?
Yeah, but some people are worse than others, and I think I was quite bad with that. Don't let one arsehole ruin your day. We can rely on ourselves to ruin it. You are fucking awesome, correct? The key to life is simple, just don't be an arsehole. Prove them bitches wrong.
Oh, yeah.
I like that. That's another one as well. I think that, again, I think a lot of relationships, I think a lot of women, I think a lot of the men think that you won't be able to live without them.
Yeah, and I think that's
you won't be able to live without
like
them,
a security.
financially, you won't be able to survive
but that's
without
a security, because I think a lot of guys, when you do kind of reach your final straws and you end it, they genuinely are shocked that that was never a fault.
Yeah,
like, it's crazy, isn't it? Because I think if you had have put kind of your energy into making it work, that wouldn't be your reality.
I need to move this so people can see. Oh no,
she's just having a
you two are in love with each other.
We are.
Anyway, yeah, I hope that's been helpful for some of you guys, but I think that's it. Just push on. There's always better stuff. What is it? Was it that Captain Tom, that lovely Captain Tom, the old guy in COVID who was it him who said something like, "This too shall pass"?
Yeah.
And I think that is a really, really good thing to always keep in mind when life feels shit, because it will. Everything will always pass.
Everything's temporary.
I just say that there's got to be rain to get the rainbow.
Yeah.
I think it's that, isn't it? Anyway, have a good week, everybody. We will see you next week.
Bye.
Take care.